like doing all my, the things that I need to do, like in my car. That doesn't require me going outside, that's why I was sending them, oh man, thanks for preserving. But then Joey's like, hey, we have a party for you.
Yeah, he called me too on the way. I was like, oh. I was getting ready to get wet again.
Because she's just upstairs.
Yeah.
It's been raining so hard, the umbrella don't work.
Yeah, but some meeting
I'm
now.
windy,
Yeah.
yes, I can wind the umbrella away,
I
exactly.
said, Dan, first I said, Dan, and we need to discuss before those are going on. But she said, okay, let me
Let me see what is this particular meeting, which one it is.
Gian said,
Only one copy?
uh,
For everybody?
6.
Fidelio.
I had no
Give me a
idea.
thumbs up when you're done.
I gave their contractor a copy.
Hello, this is Commissioner Karen. Is my volume okay with you over there on the other side?
Good, good.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It's good.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Does it seem like we haven't quorum yet?
We're gonna start in a little bit. Let's just show you guys that the funds are there.
Okay,
Oh, so you're saying that we have it in our, okay.
it's available.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on then.
Okay. This meeting is now called to order. This is the CHamoru Land Trust Commission Special Board Meeting, Friday, June 6, 2025, at 1 p.m. Before we start, I would like to do an refreshing. Mr. Glenn, okay? You are going to. I'm sorry. Joseph Cameron, Commissioner, you need an refreshing.
The camera?
Can't hear him.
Mr. Cameron? Mr. Cameron?
Can you hear
Yes,
us?
President. Can I ask a favor? Can I have somebody send the link to my work computer? I'm having problems because I'm going to my phone.
What is your, work?
Joseph.Cameron
Okay,
at ISID, DISID, .guam.gov.
okay, give me a minute.
Thank you.
Can you lead us?
I don't know if you can hear. Mr. Cameron,
Yes?
you've been requested to lead us in the Inifresi.
In the where?
Inifresi.
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm not capable of that because I can't remember every word right now.
Okay, we can start then.
Okay.
Yay. Si Deus massa. Commissioner Earl J. Dorito. Fabrine C. Respicio.
Present.
Commissioner Jeremy J. Rojas.
Present.
Commissioner Joseph F. Artero Cameron.
Present?
Our attorney, Mr. Miller,
Present.
and Director Joseph Cruz.
Present.
We have a quorum, certification, public notice of requirement, one daily post, published May 30, 2025, and June 4, 2025. One public notice website. And now we go into old business. The FY 25 appropriation of $9 million. Mr. Director Cruz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We'll just give a little history of the 9 million and the fund that it's been appropriated to. In FY 2025, the CHamoru Land Trust Commission Survey and Infrastructure Fund was appropriated $9 million. The Survey and Infrastructure Fund is a special fund that was created through the enactment of Public Law 33-90 and codified into subsection 75A 124, Chapter 75A, Title 21 Guam Code annotated. The expenditures of the SIF fund are restricted to the following: for the subdivision, surveying, mapping, and registration of tracts of residential and agricultural land in the CLTC property inventory, and for the construction of infrastructure to include access roads, water, and power utilities to service CLTC residential and agriculture tracts of land. Initially, on May 22, the board accepted the 11 parcel proposal. However, $9 million is not enough to address all 11. So we scaled it back and scaled it down to identifying 6 specific tracts and parcels of property. As detailed, we provided an updated report. The first tract is tract 1722 in Manilao. The second tract is tract 15344, also in Manilao. Tract 18113 in Manilao. track 319 in Hagen, track 113, block 16 in Dedido, lot 7160 in Jigo, and for various services that relate to the authorized expenditures of the Survey and Infrastructure Fund. On page 2, under item B, the benefit and cost breakdown, it reflects that this project or these projects will affect about 743 total constituents with a cost of $8,689,017.66. One track that I would like to point out and provide further explanation is track 1113, block 16. If we can focus on the monitor.
You want the aerial?
There.
11116, what number is that on the proposed project?
1113, block 16, which is.
5?
Correct, 5. So this is track 1113, block 16. This is the Stumbo Elementary School or Middle School, I believe. So this is the project we're proposing to put water, wastewater, and to conduct state house surveying and a power utility to create a subdivision that's plot ready. But however, this project will also service track 1022. In the recent weeks, in the news, there was concerns of illegal dumps burning. That occurred within this track 1022. And initially, our pilot project with the nonprofit from Hawaii, this was our pilot project 1022. This would have cost us $50 million to install water and wastewater from the point of through high school. But if we come in and we service, install infrastructure, water, wastewater infrastructure, it would dramatically drop the cost to install water and wastewater in track 1022. We'll be able to maintain the lot sizes that it's been currently severed out for, which initially this was the land for the landless project. So each lot in 1022 is severed out at 474 square meters. We've leased out this whole entire tract, but unfortunately, because of the lot size, it doesn't meet the minimum density requirement. So unless we consolidate 4 lots and then have to relocate 300 people somewhere else to make them usable, when we conduct our compliance inspection today or in the future, these constituents here will not be able to come into compliance because they won't be able to obtain any type of permitting to construct, to install, or to do anything like that. And we were thinking also, if this lot is accepted and approved, we can start relocating and then seek other funding to install the water and wastewater into this track. There was some concerns too, especially about the illegal dumps and the burning of the illegal dumps along this. Joe, can you show us the illegal burning?
Sorry, can I just ask a question? So what you're suggesting is, because you said to relocate some of those families to the other lot, which is the, what is that?
1113.
Yeah, 1113. So are you also suggesting that that's gonna be resurveyed to combine some of the lots?
1022, no, we can maintain it if we install water and wastewater.
Okay,
So we were thinking financially is if the board can consider approving the expenditures for the installation of water and wastewater in 1113, and from there we can seek other funding to install water and wastewater in 1022, which would drive the cost dramatically down. Instead of the initial cost coming from Ukuru, that would cost $50 million.
So what were you saying that you're gonna relocate?
The ones who are already ready on 1022, they could possibly be relocated to 1113,
Where there's utilities and they'll be able to build.
and they'll be ready.
Oh, so when you're saying they're ready to build,
Correct,
financially ready?
correct.
Okay.
The question I have though is, you know, I mean, where, I see the, where you're going with, I guess, the potential future connection through the lot you're proposing. Have we had the conversation with the utilities already as to whether or not we, you know, they'll be able to do that?
So we did get a project cost from GWA several years ago, but a current one, no.
I guess what I'm saying is, you know, it's the cost to put into that one lot that we're considering now, but is it gonna be expandable so that it'll be able to service those other lots?
Based on what I was reading, GWA.
Mr. Cruz, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'm not their person, and I'm not familiar with who's talking. Just out of courtesy, just because I can't come in person, is there a way that when an individual speaks, they just identify who they are, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir, no problem.
Commissioner Cameron, it's Commissioner Rojas. I was just asking Director Cruz about the, you know, the lot we're discussing right now. He was saying that it's a good parcel to start with because we can get the utilities into this parcel, and then it's possible to expand those utilities into the other tract. So what I was asking was, if we've spoken to the utilities, you know, and if they're in agreement that whatever we put in there will be able to service those additional lots after. So yeah, that was my question.
So,
Okay.
You want the current area, the one that
this is fine. So, to answer your question, Commissioner Rojas, Commissioner Cameron is acting Director Cruz. So, reading the information provided by the utilities like GWA, they did make mention that there may be a requirement to install lift stations,
Okay.
which would eventually allow, or pump stations to allow for the servicing. So I believe it's expandable with just the creations of like an additional pump station or lift station. But I believe so, it is possible.
Okay, I just,
One of the things, of course, we're trying to figure out how to mitigate the illegal dumping. In a perfect world, if CLTC had the money, we can put chain link fence around everything we own. But realistically, what we could consider is the presence of our lessees. When there's people who are occupying, it would drive down mitigate the possibilities of illegal dumping. So that's one project I wanted to emphasize that would be beneficial for us today and in the future for our expansion in terms of cost and how much people it could affect.
Commissioner Cameron, it's Commissioner Respicio speaking. I just have a question. So with regard to the lots that are currently already subdivided, we're gonna leave them as 492 square meters. And the intention is to bring, when you say water and wastewater, is the intention to bring city sewer system to that area?
Correct.
Okay. And so for the other lot that's in question, was it 10133?
1113 block 60.
The 1113, number 5, how do you propose that we subdivide that?
It would be also subdivided at 474 square meters because there's available public sewer.
Okay,
One other thing, if I can add, Commissioner Michaud, is that there's Joe, where's the burning area?
so I just want to make it clear that our intention is to bring city water and sewer to those 2 tracks. And if GWA is aware of our intention, do we have the support, the pump support to support the infrastructure that we plan for the two lots?
For the current, the 1113, it was mentioned in their project cost analysis, what is needed.
Okay,
For the expansion, I believe if it's required, they're gonna include that also.
and that's not at our cost.
It would be part of the project cost.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's, in the recent project costs we received, the pump station is identified and the cost of the pump station.
So
one
in
of-
addition to the utilities that we're bringing in, which is water, because of the map that I'm seeing a lot of dirt roads. Do we also have in our proposal to pave these roads? Because I think that, as a matter of livelihood and standard of living for our recipients, our beneficiaries, that we need to at least provide that.
It's
Paved
not,
roads.
it's not detailed in the projected cost provided by GWA, although I'm requesting to meet with the general manager, Mr. Bergalio, to discuss the paving of the roads, if that's included into the project or not. If it's not, we will go back and we will reassess, and if there's any changes to any proposed projects, definitely, however the board should decide today, if there's any changes, we'll bring it back to the board for their approval. But one other thing I wanted to point out is, this is where the illegal burning or the illegal dump site that was burning recently, that was occurring, Jogi Museum. There's about 5 water wells along this area, so a concern again is the contamination that it's gonna cause. And again, if it's to mitigate and to try to prevent any illegal dump sites from occurring, the only process or a resolution we can think of is the presence of our lessees. That's not gonna drive any cost on them. So we just wanted to point that out because we met with EPA and this is their concern is the water wells that are located within the vicinity. So yes, that's one of the projects I wanted to emphasize.
This is Commissioner Burrito. Where is Eagle Field? Angel Field. How's Angel?
It's quite a ways from there. It's more towards like where the Dato Public Health is. Joe, can you zoom in?
It's near the Kaiser housing area, Kaiser,
Weddingdale.
Weddingdale Elementary School.
Weddingdale.
Yeah.
Where's the full?
Right.
Up more. So this is.
No, that's League One.
The other side, go across the
It's
street.
right here. It's housing, it's right here.
Okay, so this is the public health, this is House Angels, this is the rugby. So this is where House Angels is. Is that your question, Commissioner Green?
Yeah, I just wanted to know where it is situated compared to our proposed sites there with 113 and,
There's a distance in between.
but this is all just projections, planning stage.
Today, we're hoping that the board will consider the projects that have been presented to you in our report, so that we can commence the process of discussing further with the utility companies. But like I said, along the way, if there's any type of changes to the projects or increase in the expenditures that's identified in the report, definitely we're gonna come back to the board and we'll provide frequent updates. So today, Madam Chair and Commissioners, we're seeking the board's approval to proceed in further discussions with the utilities, more specifically GWA, GPA, and the Department of Land Management in regards to the quotations and the services that we receive from them.
I would like to make a motion then, this is Commissioner Cameron. I would like to motion that, to authorize the acting administrative director to initiate the process of executing a memorandum of agreement with, of course, Department of Land Management, as he so stated, the Guam Water Works Authority, and as well as GPA, Guam Power Authority, that this agreement aims to obtain the services of these respective agencies as he so described, as detailed in item B, benefit and cost breakdown for the parcels identified in the report presented to us today by Acting Executive Director Cruz. So should any amendments be necessary as recommended by the respective agencies, I think the Acting Administrative Director must present them to the board for approval. That would be my motion. Do I need to repeat the motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Discussion on this, track. You have here, a cost just for water and sewer. It's, close to 8 million. Okay, no.
It's a summarization.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam Chair, are we,
I just,
I'm sorry, it's kind of hard for me to hear, but are we in discussion?
yes,
Oh,
I
okay.
have a question then on this. On our last meeting, your report. Going through it. So there was changes.
Correct. So, like I mentioned in the beginning, Commissioner Cameron is acting Director Cruz. Initially, we presented 11 tracts and parcels, but realizing that 9 million is insufficient, we scaled it down to 6. So the current parcels and tracts that we're proposing is in the updated report.
Yeah, because this has the breakdown. Yeah,
We just, the report just summarizes the total cost.
yeah. Because, water system is 4.3 million, and the sewer system is 2.6 million.
So like for track 1113 that we went over,
That's just for that one.
for 1113, it's $7,066,000
Mm,
for
okay.
water and wastewater installation, which is under the benefit and cost breakdown in the report.
And another 1.2 for power.
That's the total for all the parcels that have been identified, correct?
Okay. Yes.
This is Commissioner Garrido. I was looking over the proposals that you got from, well, let me speak to GK specifically. And I was looking at the construction and estimates and stuff like that. I support that endeavor because I was looking at the constructions, and their constructions are all listed as V as in Victor, B as in Baker. Okay, those are two-line primary power systems. The reason why I say I support it is because that's the entry level for electricity going into these areas. Now, as the population grows in that area, it will not be on CLTC to upgrade. It would be on the utilities to upgrade the system from that point on. Our only responsibility right now is to make sure that it comes in. So I agree with your presentation and your interactions with GPA. And like I said, I was reading the construction specs, and those are all two-wire primary lines coming in. It's a good job.
That was GPA, sir. We just asked.
I know because I used to work for GPA, so I understand all the construction jargon that they're using here.
Okay. So the motion has carried.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, would it be possible for me to make another motion?
With the same, track?
The motion, the second motion, kind of is a follow through with the first.
Okay. What is your motion?
I would like to make a motion to authorize the acting administrative director upon completion of the memorandum of agreement to encumber and to expend the funds up to the projected cost provided by us today about Department of Land Management, One Waterworks Authority, and GPA, One Power Authority, for the services outlined on item B that was shown to us on the benefits and cost breakdown for the identified parcels in the report that he presented today. If the actual cost exceeds the projected cost, then I think the acting administrative director will be required to present the project cost increase to the board for approval. That's my motion.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anything for discussion?
The only, one of the questions I have is because we've narrowed it down from 11 to 6, I think we're beyond asking how the 6 were selected, but how are you going to proceed with the 1 to 6? Like, which will come first? What project are you gonna work on first? How are you gonna determine that?
So, we're going to discuss it, what we plan to do is discuss it with the utilities on an approach of presenting all 6. We're gonna take the advice of the utilities of what would be realistically favorable to be completed in a timely manner, what would take more time. But definitely, for sure, one of the parcels that we will emphasize with the utilities is track 1113. But that we'll take their recommendations and we'll bring it back to the board and get the board's approval on the recommendations by the utilities. That's how
That's how you proceed.
we'll proceed. We won't give the go-ahead until the board gives the nod to proceed in that manner.
So as you're doing that, working with the different agencies, please remember to include a quote for roads. I think it's very important, most especially, there's so many, how many, 605 residents or beneficiaries that are currently living there, I'm just assuming on dirt road. We really need to assist them with their standard of living. And so please include that. I know that this will make an adjustment, but I think the more people that we can help, the more of the beneficiaries that we can help in the right way, I think it'll be a really good benefit for them.
We'll do our best to negotiate. I'm looking at it like if GWA comes in and installs the water or the wastewater, the after task to that is to pay it also.
Yeah.
Because of the asset, right, to protect the asset.
Yeah.
But definitely we'll do our best to try to negotiate that into the current costs.
soon do you anticipate we could have feedback from them?
Since if it was approved today, definitely after the meeting, I'm gonna send off an email. It will all be contingent on the respective agency heads if they're if available to meet. If not, I'll continue to send emails, so at least the discussion has already started. But definitely, I'll be working with Attorney Miller we can draft up the memorandum of agreements.
Sounds good.
Do you know if they do have the inventory for putting down the sewer pipes and stuff?
What I've learned with discussions with GWA, most if not all of their work is contracted out. Aside from GPA, who they have staff on in their agency to conduct the work. That's what I've learned. So for example, like from my understanding, this projected cost was created by GWA's contractor. But I'm assuming that there is some material available. I'm hoping.
Yeah, because I just wonder how long it would take for them to get everything together, then the work is started.
How they've explained it's kind of a lengthy process. Just getting it together, I mean, sending out the team to do environmental assessment, and there's the design, and all that other great stuff. But I think once the momentum's going, it'll pick up and.
So the sooner we start, the better.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Commissioner Guerrero. Acting Director Cruz, when we go into negotiations for the contract, since we will be the customer for GPA and GWA and land management and maybe highway division later down the road, are we going to require a performance bond?
Well, our approach to this is, as a government entity, we're reaching out to another government entity requesting their services. I can't say at this point if we're gonna require a performance bond. Because we're the customers.
We require them to perform on time because I don't wanna be in a position where we engage with them and then they take their sweet time in bringing in power, sewer. Just like when you engage a contractor build a house for you, there's a performance bond, right? They have X amount of days to complete the project. If not, then they start paying you instead of you paying them.
I believe Attorney Miller will make sure his creativity in drafting the MOU will have teeth.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Garrido, GWA especially is in the midst of bidding a number of projects all around the island as they have entered into a agreement with the US EPA to address a number of issues US EPA has identified. US EPA has allocated a substantial sum of money to GWA. I've never seen a GWA contract come through where GWA doesn't impose a performance bond on their contractor. So I'm comfortable that so long as our deal with GWA is the same deal that GWA has with their ditch digger, everybody will be happy. Having said that, I also know that we have seen agreements before between the trust and our friends at the utilities where they have pushed back on the idea that somehow there should be some financial accountability amongst units of government, one to the other. But I think as long as ultimately, the person who's doing the work understands and has signed up for a particular schedule that we can all take advantage of the responsibility assigned to the folks who are doing the actual work.
So I guess we shall see, right? And we will rely on your oversight to review the contracts before we commit.
Of course, but as the director said, GWA especially, they don't lay any pipe on their own. And there's always accountability measures between GPA and their contractors, and so we'll just simply be their partners in the management and the oversight of these projects. And they are they are very good about articulating a very specific number of days when they expect the project to be completed. And when their contractors bid these projects, all that information is provided up front, and so the contractor knows what kind of calendar they're signing up for, including time to marshal all of their equipment and supplies.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, is the discussion over?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a last motion, if I may.
Wait, just before you make your motion. I already forgot my thought.
We'll give you a minute.
Since it's almost the 9 million, what next?
So the unexpended appropriation is like a contingency fund in a sense to, in case there's project costs along the way, it's in reserves for that. Reserves internally, for even the paving of the roads, if that's what's required. So that's what the 310,982.34 could be used for. But nonetheless, if 8.6 million is enough to do everything, we have $310,000 more to propose other projects in other tracts and parcels. So
That's not much.
I believe we're good negotiators when it comes to certain things, and so we'll do our best, but nonetheless, that's what that's for.
In the meantime, find out how much it's gonna cost us for the road, just for that section.
Yes,
That
definitely.
track, right?
We'll be sending like Hawaiian Rock, who we know who does work like that, request for quote. We'll provide them the schemes that we also provided the utilities, so that everything is, there's continuity in the information we're sharing, and there's no other types of schemes or maps that are being used, but definitely we will, for sure.
Yeah, because you would want the road so that they can go in to start doing the work,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay, Commissioner Cameron, you're free to make your motion now.
Before I make the motion, I would just like to add some, kind of like an observation, and I wanted our acting executive director, if he may please yield to my question. I am aware that we have other monies under the umbrella of the commission, which was highly supported by Governor Lilian Guerrero, and that was to safeguard individuals in the event that they have problems when typhoons come up and you know there's issues with it. Could you expand just a little bit on that, Mr. Cruz?
Yes, I could. So what it is CHamoru Land Trust, I believe, has 8 or 9 special and revolving funds, but only 3 are active. The rest are dormant because they don't have a funding source. So the three active funds in CLTC is the CLTC Operations Funds. The revenue source for that fund is all commercial licenses executed prior to October 2015. However, we've projected that by 2045, that fund will not have a revenue source anymore. All licenses will mature and expire. For any new licenses that have been or will be executed after October 2015, all those funds go into our survey and infrastructure fund, which is what we're discussing now. Previously, I mentioned what those funds are restricted, the use of those funds. They have restrictions. The fund that Commissioner Cameron is speaking about is our CHamoru, our Eligible Beneficiary Home Loan Fund. It used to be called the CHamoru Loan Guarantee Fund. It's Eligible Beneficiary Home Guarantee Fund. I believe that's the new title since our settlement had, but nonetheless, it was initially known as the CHamoru Loan Guarantee Fund. That fund is specifically for mortgages that go into default, like we discussed in the previous meeting, Mr. Munoz and Mr. Mendiola. The funding source to that fund is the payment in lieu of taxes, all real property taxes that are assessed on CLTC lease property. That's the only funding source. The comment made by Commissioner Cameron is the governor, I believe, last year infused the fund, last year or the year before, with $4 million appropriation. That money will be soon, we'll be requesting to reclassify that appropriation and move it to the bank account. The board in the past meetings had made a decision that CLTC shall have, I believe, 20% of the aggregate value of loan guarantees issued. Right now, we're okay. Now, in the event that funds from that fund is removed by whatever means, it will decrease CLTC's ability and prevent us from issuing any loan guarantees in the event that a natural disaster should happen. Commissioner Garrido and Commissioner Chairman Berdadio know that right after Typhoon Mawar, there was concerns and there was a hold put on issuing any loan guarantees because CLTC did not have the financial capability to back those loans. But again, when the request was sent to Governor Leon Guerrero, she infused the fund with $4 million, which brought up our available funds within that fund. But again, like I mentioned, right now it's on the books as an appropriation. We'll be requesting to reclassify the appropriation to move the money into the bank account as for what it's intended for, to back the guarantees that we'll be issuing in the future and for the loans that we've already issued. Did that answer your question?
Mr. Cruz, I understand what you're saying, and I guess it's just that, you know, the temperature reading out there publicly is that we would like to maximize as much as possible what is for our constituents remain to be for our constituents. And I'm hoping that this discussion would be further reviewed as we move into the budget cycle, which has already kind of started. And the senators are already meeting certain agencies about what their budgets will look like. Are there provisions in current law that safeguards and restricts any transfer of that money, of the approximate $4 to $5 billion that you talk about, that takes care of our constituents in a low interest loan in the event that it's necessary due to unforeseen reasons for needing to upgrade their property due to a storm? Is there any restrictions to that, or is that something that we need to like advocate for in the next year budget?
So, there is verbiage in the act that says that the fund shall be under the custody of the certifying officer of the commission, which is the director, who's the primary certifying officer. And since Commissioner Cameron brought it up, we have been and we've been contemplating and we are working on presenting to the board, if not on June 19th, then definitely in July, an SOP that will detail our revenue collection internally. And at the same time, we're gonna request the board to authorize whether it's the acting administrative director or whomever's the administrative director, the authority to regain custody of those accounts. I handle the annual financial audit for the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission too. We can framework it and structure it where the general fund will fund the expenditures after the month after every quarter we reimburse. That will be in line with what's required in the act. So far that I remember, in every budget act that has been passed, there is verbiage that restricts the governor from transferring money out of the CHamoru Land Trust Fund or the CHamoru Land Trust appropriations. But nonetheless, we'll review that, and if there's any recommendations that we can think of to provide better safeguards, definitely we will.
So,
I guess the reason why I asked you this, Mr. Cruz, is that most recently, I'm sure that the commissioners have been reading the paper, or there's word out there that there's proposed legislation, and I'm just concerned about any proposed legislations that will diminish the requirements. I recall when there were three of us trying to be confirmed, and it was a total, and there was some anger in that confirmation hearing, and a lot of that was, are you willing to make the tough decisions to take care of our constituents? And I believe the three of us, commissioners, said, yes, we're willing to take that. And I'm just like, caution on any errors. I understand that there is a proposed legislation to take away our 9 million, or any of the amounts that we have. So I'm happy to participate in this meeting and to reassure our constituents that we don't support such an evil. I'm speaking on my behalf. I don't know what the other commissioners feel, but definitely I'm happy that we're having this meeting and that we are so-called encumbering the funds that we were told that was necessary to move forward the infrastructure needs, etc. This is a historical. This is a big plus on our chairwoman's feather, a feather on her cap, that not only as the current chair, but her husband, who was the former senator, who was the one who made this law happen. And he's smiling down on us right now. He's our angel. God bless him. He knew what he wanted to do with these lands. That was necessary, and it's incumbent, and I'm very happy that it was during our chairwoman's reign, so to speak, that her husband's dream has come true through her leadership. And I just want to congratulate you, Madam Chair. You've been very resilient. You've been steadfast. You put up with a lot of different things from the legislature or whomever that tries to bully you. And I believe a testimony now is that the very people that were questioned, I'm very happy to say that. So I would like to make a third motion, as I so stated, the last one.
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to require the acting administrative director, and that motion is to require the acting administrator to report to the board each subsequent regularly scheduled meeting on the progress of the projects until all these projects are completed. So my motion is to require the acting administrative director to report to the board at each subsequent regularly scheduled meeting on the progress the projects until all these projects are completed. That's my motion.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Open for discussion? No discussion?
I just have one of the things that Acting Director Cruz mentioned was the 4 million is appropriated. So when you're saying appropriated, we don't actually have it in our fund, it's sitting in the general fund, is that correct?
Appropriation meaning it was authorized, whether through legislation or the governor had an appropriation and transferred the money.
So is it transferred? That's my question.
It's within our, the appropriation account that was created and established. It's there, it's readily available. However, because we would require, well, let me take a step back. It's there, it's available, but the funds are intended to support our loan guarantees that we have issued and that we will be issuing. So we're gonna request to reclassify the appropriation to move it into the bank account.
Okay.
But it's available.
So not only for the guarantee.
It's restricted. The fund is restricted to support the, to secure on the loan guarantees that we're issuing.
So to Commissioner Cameron's point, I guess the reason I wanted to explore that is because it's appropriated and it's not physically in our fund. Those monies, as he was saying that he was hearing about other legislation, those monies can actually be unappropriated.
If it's not spent and it's not authorized in the subsequent year to be, that those funds that are not expended to be continually available to be expended, then it will not, it will lapse and we lose it.
Okay, so make sure that we explore the intention of those funds and use it, accordingly.
Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to request to reclassify the appropriation and move it into our bank.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members, just to try and crystallize this conversation for you all, the one thing you can never ever forget is that whatever the legislature gives, they can take back. Unless the money is spent. Now, in the context of the loan loss mitigation fund, we would suggest, frankly, that you all need to think of yourselves as bankers, as credit officers, because every time the commission signs up to guarantee somebody else's loan, as you've already seen, if they stop making payments, the lender comes right over here and with their hand out. And so what you need to be aware of is what's the total amount of the loan guarantees you all have outstanding? How are those underlying loans performing? And how much money do you think you need to be holding on to in case you have to pay those loans out? And that is admittedly a complicated question, as we have discussed before on the topic of these guarantees. Well, do you want to just make the monthly payment that the borrower isn't making and then just try and find somebody to jump in and take over? Do you want to pay the loan off? Because that's a much bigger check you're going to write. But if you pay the loan off, then you own the house. You've got the land, you own the house. And so now you can potentially go after a much larger transaction, which will include creating much more financial benefit for the trust than simply finding somebody who wants to take over the loan payments. But The important thing, especially when it comes to the legislature, is to have a policy, is to have an understanding that whether it's $4 million or $400,000 or $40 million, this is how much money you're already on the hook for. The grand total of the guarantees you've signed up for, whatever that is, and that frankly, you expect that that 1%, 2% of those are gonna go bad. And when 2% of them go bad, it's gonna cost you this much money. So even though the cash may be sitting in your bank account, and, because I've dealt with legislatures on this for 40 years, when the legislature sees cash in the bank that isn't going out, somehow they think you're wasting it, you're moving too slow, or you're not doing what they've told you to do. Here, they've given you money and said, we hope you never need to spend it, because we hope everybody makes their loan payment. But some people are gonna default, you are gonna have to spend some of it, but the way you have to be able to defend whatever amount of money you have in the bank for loan loss mitigation is to be able to say, this is how many loan guarantees we've signed up for, this is what our experience is, and if you wanna take it, go ahead. But we're gonna be right back here tomorrow saying, the lender just walked in the door and wants their $150,000. So whatever money you just swept out of our account, you just need to give it right back to us, because we have a legal obligation to these lenders to make their loans good. So when it comes to that loan loss mitigation fund, the commission is in the exact same place as a bank, and that while you hope and frankly expect the borrower to make every payment on schedule without fail, some of them are going to fail, and you need to know you've got the money in the vault to make it good if you're ever called to write that check.
I have a question. What if it's gonna take 5 years before they start track 113, block 16 deaded?
If after our meeting, and it does result in a very long time to complete, definitely we'll come back to the board and present that. If the board should want to reallocate those monies for a different track or a different parcel, we have 5 others that,
Well-
or even new ones.
Substitute.
Yeah.
Plan B, what's the next one?
We would have to present Plan B in another meeting. We were focused only on the 6. But
Well,
nonetheless,
of the 6.
well, we're gonna approach it as the 6 as a whole, and based on the utility companies and land management's recommendation, if they should provide in what order we should proceed, then again, we're gonna bring it back to the board to inform the board and to get the blessing of the board that we proceed in that manner. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that they have enough crew or enough contractors to go out and to simultaneously do everything. But we won't know that yet until after our meeting.
I have a question to just kind of follow up on that. With track 1113, are we going to tap off the sewer line coming from the school?
I don't, I believe there might be some information related to that in the project cost analysis, but I'm not sure. But wherever we're tapping from, GWA's, I believe has determined that infrastructure is sufficient to handle the additional.
When did they provide us their position for the sewer. Is it recent or is it years
Just
ago?
this year, I believe in March.
March 20th, 2025.
Okay. It's just recent,
So it's an up-to-date projection.
correct. The only one that we received that was years ago is the one for 1022 that we made mention of. In we received it September 2021, so that's about almost 4 years ago, and 50 million with inflation and everything else. Who knows how much it went up now? And that's why we were emphasizing consideration for track 1113, because they're adjacent to each other.
Chairman Miller?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to answer the question I think you were really asking, which is that as soon as the commission enters into the specific memorandums of agreement with the utilities that obligate them to do work and the commission to pay money, even though it may be some number of months down the road before you actually see people with shovels digging ditches, from an accounting point of view, that money will be considered spent. And the legislature can talk all they want to
No, I'm just being,
about reallocating it,
Right.
but on the books of the commission, the money will have been spent, even though it may be a number of months before you actually write checks.
Considered a liability.
To add to Attorney Miller, firmly in my mind, the deadline to execute any type of remittance of payments is September 30, 2025, which is our year end. So we're working towards that goal. Sooner, better, but at the latest.
Hopefully they can get it together so that those contracts can be put out and everything encumbered before.
The utilities, GWA, GPA, and then Department of Land Management have been very responsive to us. I feel like the doors are open always for us. When we request of something, they provide. So they display the want to help CLTC and with our constituents. So Madam Chair, that's all for the only item up for our special meeting. Unless any other commissioners want to make motions or any further discussions in relation to the one item for our special meeting today.
any discussions? Motion to adjourn?
It's first time.
Second.
Nobody made a motion, sir.
Oh, I make a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
I second.
Sorry.
We have been,
Oh, did you?
yeah.
No, you were gonna make a motion, I was also, so I said, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna, I just motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, say
Aye.
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 We made history.
1 hour, 8 minutes. That is
Fantastic.
history.
What time, yeah,
2:08.
2:08.
Fantastic.
Thank you.